Hello and welcome to part 2 of the video on Pluto and Sedna, Healing the Collective Shadow. We are looking at the astrology of each planet's discovery chart, representing the dawning of these planets' energies on collective consciousness. This part 2 video is going to be addressing Pluto's chart, and there will be affirmations and frequencies that follow. In the part 3 video, I will be addressing Sedna's chart. And in each one, we're going to be looking at the low vibe and high vibe of Scorpio's shadow as the astrology reveals it. Pluto was discovered in 1930, and this was right at the advent when we invented weapons of mass destruction. That's why I find it so amusing when people talk about how Pluto has been demoted from planet to planetoid or whatever they want to name it. The size of this planetary body has absolutely nothing to do with its powerful impact. And when you think of the atom bomb that was invented right at the time that Pluto was discovered, you will understand the powerful impact this planet has. Whatever you want to call it, something so tiny, something hidden at the microscopic level can create such destructive forces on this planet. That is something we all need to bear in mind as we consider what Pluto has to say about the shadow of the Scorpio nature and what it is we all need to heal on an individual level. And as I said in part 1, I do view Pluto as the alchemical fire because it is the more masculine version of the Scorpio essence and energy. And when we look at this chart, even though the hard aspects that are represented by the red lines have literally nothing to do with any of the elements, fire, water, etc., it is interesting to me that we have more of these red aspects in Pluto's chart. And when we look at Sedna's chart, we have more of the blue, the sextiles and trines, and harmonious energies. So I do view Sedna as Earth's baptism by water. So both of these planets, fire and water, are representing the solar and lunar energies of the Kundalini life force, sexuality, which is what Scorpio is associated with, and the extreme expressions of the lowest vibe of the Scorpio expression and the highest vibe of what it means to be human. Both of these planets, Pluto and Sedna, have to do with life after death. What happens after the death of the ego? So Pluto is the alchemical fire that transforms us, and Sedna is the divine feminine essence that washes us clean, helps us become more fluid with life, and to love unconditionally, and to embrace the full range of human emotion so that we can heal our planet. Sedna's energy then is about transcending the trauma created by Pluto's low vibe expression, the repeated trauma that we have been enduring as human beings on this planet and as the Earth itself has been enduring. You know, this Earth has been violated for thousands upon thousands of years. And in our connection to Earth, we are experiencing that in our own bodies. So as these waves of higher vibrational energy encompass and envelop the Earth, our bodies must change. And more of our own cellular makeup, our DNA, is awakening and being activated. And the more that we can work with this consciously, the faster our healing will occur, and we can actually help Earth itself heal in a much more harmonious way, which will benefit all life on Earth. And just to briefly recap a little bit from part 1, what these discovery charts have in common is Leo rising, a Taurus North node in the 10th house, which means that the Scorpio South node is in the 4th. In each one of these charts, the Luminaries are conjunct the South Node. In Pluto's chart, it's the Moon that's conjunct the Scorpio South Node. In Sedna's chart, it's the Sun that's conjunct this Scorpio South Node. The third thing they have in common is that Chiron, the wounded healer, is making an opposition to the Moon. This represents and is another signature of how we need to heal our relationship with the Divine Mother, with the Divine Feminine Essence, and with family and our ancestral roots. The fourth commonality is that Jupiter is making a prominent aspect to Mars, the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So this is putting the aggressive masculine shadow under a magnifying glass. We're having to look at that and heal that. The fifth thing is that we have the ancient and modern rulers of Pisces occupying Virgo, the opposite sign of Pisces, and sitting in the second house. So we're going to look at what that means. The sixth thing that we have in common is that Saturn is making quite an impact on the sixth house of body-mind-spirit connection, of health and harmony in the body, our daily affairs and daily routine. In Pluto's case, Saturn is actually occupying the sixth house. And in Sedna's case, Saturn is making an opposition to Chiron, which sits in the sixth house. So we're going to look at that as well. Last but not least, we have Sedna on the midheaven in both of these charts, literally calling us toward the highest expression of Scorpio, calling us toward our destiny to express the highest vibration of the Scorpio essence and energy. So in this video, we're going to go through Pluto's chart, examining these aspects from the standpoint of Scorpio's low and high vibe expressions. What we need to know to transform and heal our own shadow nature so that we contribute to the healing in the collective. Healing means to become whole, to fully embody our authentic nature. And we can't do that if any part of our being is operating unconsciously, underwater, underground, quarantined, or in any way swept under the proverbial rug with a message, it's okay, this is the new normal. It's perfectly natural and normal to live an inauthentic life, an artificial life. We provide you with a Hollywood version of your essence and being, and that's the role model we expect you to abide by. Anyone who embodies the light will be eviscerated publicly because we can't have the message getting out to the people of what actually connecting to your authentic divine essence and origin is, because then you're living in your power and we need you to live a small life so that we can continue feeding off of your low vibe, fear, trauma, artificiality, etc., etc. We need the people to buy into a false version of life, a false narrative of their origin, their history, their relationship to spirit, to organic nature, etc. Manipulation of the psyche, psychological warfare is the key word for one of Scorpio's absolute lowest expressions. The other is outright physical violence, torture, repeated trauma that results in death. Scorpio is the sign that deals with death and rebirth, with sexuality, with Kundalini life force energy. So as I said in part 1, these are the very expressions of the Scorpio nature that have been under attack, that have been perverted and bastardized in one form or another. Artificial fill in the blank is the new normal we're all supposed to live by. So let's begin with Leo rising. With Leo rising, we look to the sun for more information on what Leo rising actually means. The rising sign is the lens through which we view life and also how we dawn upon others. So with Sun in Aquarius in the 8th house, this is the Scorpio house, the 8th house. It's the house that deals with death and rebirth, sexuality, intimacy. It also deals with loss, elimination, repeated trauma that is designed to ultimately jar our memory into recalling what our true and authentic nature really is. The Sun in Aquarius, in its low vibe, is the extreme takeover of our authenticity with science and technology, of wanting to somehow improve upon nature's organic authenticity with artificiality in all of its forms. It is an intellectual superiority that tries to insert itself within the mystery of the unknown and supernatural by rationalizing everything and calling everything that relies upon our natural gut instincts, our natural spiritual connection, our feminine essence, intuition, emotional and spiritual expression, relegating all of that to being somehow irrational. The narrative is, trust the science, not your instincts. It is also representing an unholy alliance, which is the 8th house, with certain off-world entities that quite frankly are cruel, lack all human compassion. And that is the lowest vibe of Aquarius, lacking any and all form of human compassion. It's cold, calculating, strictly intellectual, completely objective, and treats any and all forms of organic life with disdain. The high vibe of Aquarius is the quintessential humanitarian. It's the exact opposite of what I just described. It cares for all forms of life and recognizes and reveres its intrinsic value. That is, of course, what we are coming into in the age of Aquarius, because while there are off-world civilizations and intelligences that epitomize the shadow, there are many more who epitomize the high vibe expression. Sun in Aquarius, in its highest form, signifies humanity, taking back its power, 8th house, by uniting with Venus in Pisces, the ruler of the Taurus North Node. The fact that Venus is in Pisces means we are having to revisit, recognize, and reclaim all of those places where we unwittingly gave our power away throughout the age of Pisces, whether it was through drugs, which Pisces rules, or through religion and spirituality. This is what we are healing. And that's why the ruler of the Taurus North Node, Venus, is in Pisces, conjunct this Aquarius sun. In the 8th house, we're ripping out the carpet of our subconscious domain and vacuuming out all of the dust and debris that lies beneath and the ways that we have been manipulated with a false sense of security and an inauthentic representation of what it means to be human. So we are coming into wholeness by looking under the carpet, by taking back those parts of our psyche that have been quarantined in the darkness. We have to bring the shadow into the light and look it squarely in the face. Align it with our divine essence within our own being. That is how we take back our power in the age of Aquarius. This North Node in Taurus is emphasizing our destiny and calling to live in harmony and achieve authentic peace and security on this planet. South Node in the 4th house is healing the trauma within the family unit, within our ancestral roots, the whole family line, throughout the age of Pisces and probably even before that, and also coming back into right relationship with our emotional connection with Divine Mother, with our feminine essence, encompassing intuition, spirituality, and the roots that go so very deep, and understanding that while it may be non-rational, non-linear, it is not irrational. Coming back to the luminaries that are conjunct this Scorpio South Node, in Pluto's case, it's the moon that is conjunct the South Node in the 4th house. The moon is the natural ruler of the 4th house. That is its natural domain, the mother, the family, the protective womb space of the child, of the infant, of the innocent. And in this Pluto discovery chart, Pluto itself is in the sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon. So here we have a double signifier around healing the shadow related to the divine feminine essence, the divine mother, our spiritual instincts, our spiritual connection, and our intuition. And Pluto is sitting in the 12th house, another water house that represents tying up karmic loose ends, letting go of everything from the past that has taken our power away, that has undermined our connection to all that is, another 12th house theme. And certainly a Pisces theme. And we're talking about healing all of the karmic debris that we have accumulated throughout the age of Pisces. Now, the other interesting thing related to the moon is that in both of these charts, we have Chiron opposing the moon. Chiron is the wounded healer, and in Pluto's case, Chiron is conjunct the North Node. So our destiny is calling us to heal all of these issues around the Taurus North Node and what truly constitutes our sense of security as it relates to Scorpio and the Scorpio South Node, as it relates to healing divine feminine essence, our relationship to the mother, the divine mother, and our entire ancestral line. This is the time. Now is the time for us to heal these patterns that have been perpetrated throughout the age of Pisces that no longer serve our healing as we move forward. North Node in Taurus in the 10th house is a destiny calling us to establish having peace and living in harmony with the planet. Chiron in its opposition to the moon is highlighting even more the fact that we need to heal our relationship with the divine mystery, our intuition, and also our ancestral roots, those ancient connections. What patterns have been passed down through the ages that no longer serve who we are evolving into as one human family? And with Chiron opposing the moon, and both the Chiron and moon conjunct the nodes are points of destiny, it's signifying that there are not only things about the past we need to transform and transcend, there are also aspects about our ancient connections that we need to bring back, that we need to resurrect, and that will help us heal. With that Chiron moon opposition, this is how we heal. So it's eliminating and letting go of what no longer works, but also bringing in, restoring, and resurrecting what will help us heal our future. All right, the next aspect I want to discuss is Jupiter making a tight trine to Mars, and Mars is conjunct Mercury. So this Mars-Mercury in the 7th house and in the sign of Aquarius, and Jupiter making a trine to these two planets, it symbolizes shining a magnifying glass or blowing up this tendency to weaponize the mind, to weaponize words through bombarding us with a particular narrative, the narrative that embodies the low vibe or shadow of Aquarius, which is all about science, all about technology, intellectualizing our emotions, objectifying emotions. Trust the science, not your instincts. This is artificial intelligence, quite frankly, and weaponizing artificial intelligence against humanity, Aquarius. Jupiter in Gemini is seeing things in black and white. There's no in between. There's no gray area. If it hasn't been proven in a double-blind experiment, it's not real. If it can't be measured under a microscope, it's not real. Jupiter in Gemini is the constant bombardment of a narrative, spewing to us what reality is, while undermining a true sense of humanitarian interaction between and among the people. It's creating a robotic form of humanism. And Jupiter has everything to do with our beliefs. It rules both Sagittarius and Pisces. So again, it's about rationalizing beliefs, rationalizing spirituality, scientific pontification. That is the new religion. That is the new normal. Now, the high vibe of Jupiter in its trine to Mars and Mercury within these air signs is a new form of technology that puts technology in its place. Yes, it can be useful for humanitarian efforts. It certainly can be useful for healing, but it is not the God that we need to idolize. We need to get back to our roots of what it means to be truly human and have compassion and reverence for all life on this planet. So now let's look at the modern ruler of Pisces, which is Neptune, in the 2nd house in the sign of Virgo. The 2nd house echoes the Taurus North Node theme because the 2nd house is the natural domain for Taurus. So we're dealing with economic security, material goods and resources. It's our sense of self-esteem, self-worth, and our values. So with Neptune in the second house, making a tight opposition to Venus, the ruler of the Taurus North Node, this again is a double whammy, emphasizing how we have been deceived on the low vibe. When we're talking about the shadow, we have been deceived into a false sense of security that ties our sense of self-worth to our net worth and the amount of money that we make. Venus in the eighth house is other people's money, but in its opposition to Neptune, there was deception around what constitutes true resources. Venus in the eighth house. Neptune in the second house is kind of washing away and dissolving our values. And Neptune in Virgo speaks to the body temple. Neptune and Pisces rule the area of the Hollywood industry, the drug industry, and with Neptune in Virgo, it's like the way to heal is by admitting our body temple into the medical institution. That is how we have been indoctrinated to get well. But are we getting well with the medical industry as it is right now? Have we gotten well, or have we seen more diseases pop up? The whole litany of commercials for the drug that will help this, the drug that will help that. And then the ticker tape below that gives us this whole long list of side effects that the drugs cause. So I think we need to take a step back and really look at how we are treating the body temple. And with Venus being the ruler of the Taurus North Node in the eighth house, there is rebirth and resurrection of divine mystery. What has been hidden from view? What has been kept from us and kept secret with regard to healing the body temple? Even though, the second house and the eighth house are money houses. So this has to do with our divine inheritance as well as our actual financial inheritance. It has a lot to do with both because eighth house is spirituality and mysticism. It's magic too. And in its opposition to Neptune and Virgo having to do with the body temple, there is a message here that we have to get back to our body, mind, spirit connection and understand the spiritual technology, not just the scientific medical technology. The body intrinsically knows how to heal itself. Just like the earth has a self-regulatory capacity to bring itself back into balance, so too does the human body. That is Virgo. How all of the parts, all of the organ systems operate within an efficient system that knows how to heal. So this also ties into Saturn in the sixth house. That's the aspect we're going to look at next. In Pluto's chart, we have Saturn in Capricorn sitting in the sixth house. Sixth house is the natural domain of Virgo. And we just talked about Neptune being in Virgo, the opposite sign of Pisces. Virgo, the sixth house, all have to do with this body-mind-spirit connection. Now, the sixth house is also these relationships of an unequal quality: master, servant, guru, adept, boss, employee. So Saturn in Capricorn in the sixth house reminds me of the authority figures bearing down upon us, and it is the quintessential symbol of the corporate mentality, keeping us, human souls in a physical body, in this rat race or hamster wheel, making the almighty dollar for all of these institutions. And we're going to find out how we've been enslaved through the workforce, sixth house, through our daily job, daily routine, to make money for the corporate entities. And now it is time for us to reclaim our own Saturnian authority, to become the master of our own destiny, to become the master of our own body temple. And in this trine from Saturn and Capricorn to the North Node in Chiron, this is exactly what we are destined to do, and we will succeed. So, last but not least, we're going to look at Sedna's placement on the midheaven. In Pluto's chart, Sedna is in the sign of Aries, but it is conjunct the midheaven at 23 degrees of Aries. It is also conjunct Uranus with an orb of 7 degrees, and it's a 7-degree orb conjunct the midheaven as well. Anyway, Sedna on the midheaven and in the ninth house. This is about a very pronounced death and rebirth or resurrection of our beliefs. Ninth house represents our beliefs, our spiritual or universal mind, worldview, perspective, and conjunct Uranus, it is literally bringing us in, ushering in the age of Aquarius. Sedna in Aries is about our spiritual sovereignty. Aries is independent. It's the pioneer. It speaks to creating its own pathway forward. And Sedna in Aries is about resurrecting our own independent spiritual natures while still providing that energy and essence where all belief systems are brought back into unity. So this ninth house placement of Sedna is unity consciousness, but with Sedna being in Aries, we still have the right and the freedom to choose our own relationship, however we call in the divine and align with the divine essence of our own being. So that concludes part 2, looking at Pluto's energy, the low vibe and the high vibe, and what it has to teach us about collective shadow and how we are evolving. Please stay tuned for the affirmations and frequencies, and I will see you soon for part 3 with Sedna. Moon and Mars for the square. I now consciously integrate my sacred feminine essence and sacred masculine essence and courageously express my authentic nature without blame, shame, guilt, or apology. Moon and Pluto for the trine. I now fully embody the power of my divine feminine essence, regardless of gender or sexual orientation. It is my birthright to express the powerful feminine instinct, intuition, and spiritual connection in a powerful way for the highest good of all. Moon and Chiron for the opposition. I now fully recognize and accept the intrinsic divine ability of my body to heal itself, and I embrace the body-mind-spirit connection that constitutes my whole and healed expression in life. Moon and Sedna for the quincunx. I recognize the challenge I agreed to before incarnating in this world, which has required an advanced soul curriculum involving the healing of my divine feminine essence for the sake of humanity's return to unity consciousness. Sun and Venus for the conjunction. I now consciously and unconditionally accept all parts of my shadow, willingly bringing them into the light for the sake of my own and humanity's ultimate healing. Sun, Venus, Neptune for the conjunction and opposition. I now consciously and unconditionally accept all parts of my feminine and spiritual nature that, when harmonized and balanced with divine masculine, represents reunion with divine harmony. Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter for the conjunction and trine. I consciously and willingly use my mind to challenge any narrative that encourages a false sense of intellectual superiority by undermining my own instincts. Mercury and Neptune for the quincunx. I accept the challenge to unify and harmonize my personal mind and my spiritual instincts. I connect with a divine essence as I see fit in a way that speaks to me naturally and organically. Jupiter and Neptune for the square. I am one of many instruments within the human family that is contributing to the healing of the age of Pisces and facilitating the birth of the age of the new humanitarian who respects all organic forms of life. Saturn and Uranus for the square. I am one of many instruments within the human family who commits to taking back my divine authority to be spiritually free, healthy in body, and independent in my connection to the divine.